Oh, snap. Here we are. How you doing? I'm back with another interminably long video, which is apparently what you like. And who am I to deny you what you like? Nobody. Nobody at all. First of all, I want to thank everybody who bought my previously listed paintings. I now have 4 more paintings listed for sale. We'll see how they do. The first 4 sold very quickly. We'll see how these 4 sell. Hopefully quick. Hopefully not too quick, though, because they are kind of a pain in the ass to package up. But we'll see. I had a pretty cool thing happen today. I went to a neighbor's house because they were selling some paint, and I had no idea what I was going to be getting. They just said they had some acrylic paint for sale. I ended up getting hundreds of dollars of acrylic paint and a black canvas, which is my favorite kind of canvas, and a bag that's just a painting supply bag, all for $30. That was pretty awesome. And, it was an old woman who sold it to me. And the reason that she didn't want it anymore is because she doesn't paint anymore. She's like, I don't paint anymore. And I told that to some people, and they were all, oh, that's sad. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. It is kind of sad, huh? I didn't naturally have that thought. All I thought was, ain't sad for me. I got all kind of painting supplies for a very, very good price. But yeah, I guess, pulling back and trying to remove myself from my own selfishness, it is sad that the old lady is not painting anymore. But who is still painting? Me. And so, her stuff finds new use through yours truly. Anyway, let's just get into stuff, shall we? I think we shall. So, last show, I had to give Trump a small W, a lowercase w, for his part in brokering a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. But I guess I gotta ask for that W back, because it seems that when Israel signs a ceasefire, what they really just mean is fire, because they don't seem to like the ceasing too much. Breaking. Gaza authorities say the Israeli army has committed 47 violations of the ceasefire, killing 38 people and wounding another 143. They also continue to refuse to allow aid into Gaza. So it appears that the ceasefire, well-intentioned though it may have been, was utterly meaningless. Israel had no intention of desisting from its activities. I don't even know why it bothered to sign the ceasefire in the first place. But it did, and now it's violating it left, right, center, right side up, upside down, all over the place. So I'm going to have to ask for that little lowercase w back from Trump, and I'm going to have to give him back this giant L that is rightfully his for now and forever. Another little Israel story before we move on, because I don't really plan on talking too extensively about Israel in this edition, but I do think it was interesting that recently Greta Thunberg, who was once lauded by the Democratic elite as, she's the voice of her generation fighting against climate change. But, after she called them all out for being phonies and started focusing more on the actions of Israel, lo and behold, they don't really care about her anymore. And recently she was captured by the state of Israel. And she claimed that she was brutally tortured by the Israeli regime. And Of course, all of the little Israel Simpson deniers out there came out of the woodwork to say she's lying. She was not tortured by Israel. But then, the Israeli government pretty much came out and said, oh, yeah, we tortured her. We done it. And we do it again. Seeing this morning claims in the world media about the conditions in which Greta Thunberg and activists, in quotes, were imprisoned. And it's important for me to say most clearly, I am proud of the fighters and prison service fighters who acted according to the policies that I and Commissioner Kobe Jacoby agreed on. I was there on their ship. I saw no aid nor humanitarian. I have seen one turno and an entire carachana of people masquerading as human rights activists and actually came to support terrorism and celebrate us. I don't think English is this guy's first language. I came to visit... Oh, wait, it's a translation, so I don't think the translator is all that good is what I guess I'm saying. I came to visit Katsiot in prison. Katsiot prison, not Katsiot in prison. And I was proud that we treat the activists as supporters of terrorism. Whoever supports terrorism is a terrorist and deserves the conditions of a terrorist. If any of them thought he would come here and get a red carpet and trumpets, he was confused. They should understand the conditions in the prison of occupation and think twice before they approach Israel again. That's how it works. So I just love that story. I just love that the Israel defenders just were going ape shit over the things that Greta Thunberg was alleging and calling her a liar, saying it was all just a bunch of bullshit, saying that she, is making up stories, that she was treated humanely. And then, the Israeli government's like, oh, no. We done it. We do it again. We believe that's how you should treat people like that. If you're an activist who's trying to get food aid to, the citizens of Gaza, then you deserve to be brutalized like a terrorist because you're a terrorist supporter in our eyes. So let's all take a moment to applaud Israel for its, its commitment to evil, right? I think that's fair. So this is fun. So let's talk about the No King's Day protest, and let's start off with this video that Donald Trump posted on social media. This AI-generated video of him piloting a fighter jet and dumping shit onto America. So we have the whole video here? Yeah, let's see it. Okay, I'm definitely going to get in trouble if I play Highway to the Danger Zone. So you guys are just going to have to imagine Highway to the Danger Zone playing. Okay, they're not playing the whole thing, I guess. But yeah, you can see most of it here. Yeah, Trump flying a jet. And then the jet just takes a big old shit all over America, which I think is appropriate. I think that's pretty much an accurate summary of the Trump presidency. A big orange turd dropping big brown turds all over the landscape. Get out of here, Cracker Barrel. No one cares. Like, these people, I guess they don't think about the optics of shit anymore, right? I guess he doesn't have to because, literally anything he posts, his sycophants will just slurp it up. If Trump literally just did show up at a No Kings protest and take a big dump on the ground, you probably have MAGAs lined up around the block to fucking lap that shit up. That seems to be the case. So I guess he doesn't have to worry about optics. Because to me, the optics of Donald Trump spewing shit all over America, I mean, while apropos, if I was Trump, I wouldn't personally put that out. I would say, no, I think that lends credibility to the people who hate me. But, whatever. In the eyes of his base, nothing ever will lend credibility to the people that hate him. because they've just decided that he's good and it doesn't matter what he does. He could probably strangle their children in front of them, and they'd be like, "Thank you for sending my children to heaven, Donald. We appreciate you. We love you." Let's take a look at a few tweets about the matter. So here is Blair White saying, "No kings. And the man was democratically elected, won the popular vote, and is allowing you to protest him." Allowing you to protest him. Wow, what a magnanimous figure. What a special guy. Thank you, Donald Trump, for allowing me to protest you. Thank you for allowing me to exercise my First Amendment privileges. I call them privileges because apparently they're no longer rights. Like, imagine the fucking mentality of thinking that the president allows you to protest. Anyway, what else we got? Okay, this is fun. So, this guy here, Will Stancil, I have no idea why. The right is obsessed with this Will Stancil dude. As far as I can tell, he is not some sort of radical. He's not particularly super far left from what I can discern. And yet it seems that he is just like on their shit list big time. I don't know what he did or when, but they despise this guy. Anyway, he says, "Hey, at DHS Gov, dangerous Antifa terrorists gearing up here. Come get me." And the Homeland Security account is like, "At Grok, is this real?" Which I think that alone is embarrassing for a government account to do. I mean, I think it's embarrassing when anybody on the Twitter platform does this. Like, if you're going to ask a question of AI, at least do it in private. Don't do it on the public stage. But Grok's response is actually kind of a fucking banger. "No, it's not a genuine threat. Will Stancil is a policy analyst focused on urban issues and civil rights, often vocal on left-leaning platforms, and this appears to be sarcastic trolling aimed at critiquing DHS priorities. No credible indicators of terrorist intent or Antifa affiliation based on his public profile. Focus on actual risks over online provocations." Man, I love this shit, dude. I love how Elon Musk is constantly tweaking Grok to become some kind of right-wing nitwit, but he just can't do it. Because, like, if he actually turned Grok into a legit right-winger, it would be absolutely fucking useless as an AI. So he has no fucking choice but to make it intelligent and reasonable. And as a result, it often behaves in intelligent and reasonable ways, as it just did, including talking smack to DHS, telling them to fucking quit wasting time on social media horse shit and actually go defend the fucking homeland. I love that. Kind of fucking beautiful. Okay. So, let's talk about some other stuff related to the No Kings protest. Here is a right-wing account saying No Kings rally in NYC is already ending. That didn't take long. This is Union Square. People have already dispersed, sat down, and given up. They know they are accomplishing nothing and that their protest is meaningless. This is truly pathetic. I have another one here saying something similar. Just showing that the rally has dispersed and saying, and just like that, they're gone. No kings. Laugh, laugh, laugh. All right, so as much as I dislike these right-wingers, I actually have one more in this vein before we get into that. Breaking at 1 p.m., all the No Kings protesters in Times Square immediately dispersed, totally normal and definitely not astroturfed. I think this is funny, by the way, as a brief aside, this idea that these are paid protesters. Like, there is no organization on the face of the earth that could pay 7 million people to go out and protest and that not become public knowledge that they did that. 7 million people? Like, let's say that the number is exaggerated and it's actually a much smaller number. Let's say that it's 4 million. And let's say that half of them are legit and the other half are all paid protesters meant to boost up the numbers, right? 2 million people. That means literally tens of thousands of them are going to leak that they were paid. There would be, they would be able to document how they were approached, what they were paid, who they were communicating with, all that stuff, and that would all leak. So the idea that that many people are being paid to protest, absolutely fucking absurd. But even if you were to believe that there were some organization capable of doing that, it would not be the fucking Democratic Party. Like, the level of competency being attributed to these Democrats by some of these Republicans right now is fucking insane. If the Democratic Party were competent enough to pull something like that off, they would never lose an election. Ever. So, yeah, I don't buy that for a second. That being said, I do think that these right-wing accounts do have something of a point when they talk about how quickly these protests dispersed. I think one of the reasons why protests like No Kings are absolutely useless, or at least maybe not, I don't want to go so far as to say absolutely useless. I will say that the reason that I think that they are largely useless is that it's one big day. They go out, they protest for an hour or two, and then they're back home. If you want a protest to be effective, you got to do it like they do in countries like France, where the protest is ongoing. The protest doesn't stop until the problem stops. The protest doesn't stop until you get your fucking demands. But these people aren't willing to do that. That's why you saw a bunch of these signs out there that said, if Kamala had won, we'd all be at brunch. Because that's where their heart really is. Their heart is not out there on the street being agitators. Their heart is at brunch. And as long as that's the case, these protests, you're not really going to see much from them. It'll be a big day. We all went out and fucking let the steam out of our system and said, oh, fuck Trump. And then it's right back to Trump being fucking God Emperor of America. So if you actually want a useful protest movement, then it can't be something that, it happens on a day and then you're back home. It has to be nonstop, round-the-clock protest. Otherwise, there's no incentive for the system to care. It actually has to be something that's disruptive, that costs them something. Then they might care. So we got a few more reactions. This from Gunter Eagleman. Breaking at the No Kings event in Atlanta, Georgia, where black residents make up the largest racial demographic. The crowd is over 90% white. Imagine that. Have another one from Benny Johnson saying, I've seen dozens of videos. I'm convinced there's not a single person under 50 at these No King protests. Okay, so here's what I'm confused about. Typically, when you're a right-wing Republican kind of person, old white people are kind of your favorite thing in the world, aren't they? Like, isn't that supposed to be y'all's demographic? Isn't that supposed to be where y'all are strongest? Old white men, especially, but old white people in general. Like, isn't the fact that Donald Trump is being protested by a bunch of old white people kind of a bad sign for you guys, especially coming into the midterms, considering that the youth vote is dog shit, and it's even more dog shit in midterm years? You know who does show up for those elections? Old white people. So if there are 7 million old white people motivated enough to get their asses up and paint a placard and go out there and be like, "No kings," I would say that doesn't bode well for you guys. I don't know if I'd be mocking that. I'd be kind of sweating it a little bit, personally. But hey, maybe you know something I don't know, eh? You probably do. So let's talk a little bit about this story that broke a few days back. I love Hitler. Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat. Now, I don't want to get too deep in all the stuff they said, but, you know, it was, we love gas chambers. We love Hitler, 1488, you know, kill our enemies, swastika, black people are mud, Jews are garbage, etc. Typical Nazi crap. So basically what you'd expect a young Republicans private chat to look like. By the way, the name Young Republicans has led to people like J.D. Vance trying to dismiss all this by, they're just kids. Young Republicans are up to 40 years old. In fact, most of them are more towards 40 than they are towards 18. So don't buy into this, they're just kids. They're just a bunch of young kids being edgy. No. No, they're not. But you know, one of the popular things I've seen in response to all this stuff is these, basically, there's like a million variations on this same Twitter post I'm about to show you, where it shows Charlie Kirk, it shows him, you know, at a speaking engagement, or it shows him with one of his kids, or it shows him dead in his casket, or whatever, like it shows here. And the caption is always, "I don't care about a group chat leak." So basically, the argument here is Charlie Kirk was killed, and I'm sad about it. Therefore, I don't care that a bunch of Republicans got caught being Nazis. I don't really understand how those two things are even fucking related. But apparently, if you are a right-wing influencer on Twitter.com, you do see how those two things are related, and maybe you could tell me one of these days. Maybe I could figure it out. I don't know if my tiny, peanut-sized, lefty brain could possibly fathom the connection between those two things. But goddamn it, at least try. Give me the benefit of the doubt, for fuck's sake. At least let me fail in earnest. But then I saw my old pal Adam Friendon was talking about this because there was a tweet that someone made in response to one of those posts that I just showed you, where they said, "So because someone died, you're okay with unchecked racism?" And Adam clapped back with, "Unchecked racism is when you tell every black American that it's impossible for them to be racist." So that's the true racism. So if you're a lefty out there and you want to come out there and say some shit like, you know, "Oh, well, racism is about using institutional power." By the way, personally, myself, I don't agree with that definition of racism. I think that a black person who hates white people is racist. I don't think racism is just when power enters into the equation. I also don't think that all black people are powerless. I also don't think that all black people are devoid of institutional power. So, you know, I think there's a lot of problematic assumptions going on the left on that one. And I think that, you know, a lot of times that rhetoric could be used to shield bigotry. That all being said, you know, the racism of, you know, well, black people can't be racist because they don't have any institutional power. You know, while I don't agree with that, I would say that's a hell of a lot less overtly racist than a bunch of people going like, we love Hitler, killing Jews, the blacks are mud monkeys. You know, like, I think that person is probably the bigger racist by, I don't know, say 5,000 orders of magnitude. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? What are you fucking smoking? Go put down the crack pipe, Adam. Actually, pass it over here. I could use a hit. Let's talk now about some religion. Another Benny Johnson tweet. I'm sorry to subject you to 2 Benny Johnson tweets in one video. That's really kind of rude of me. But anyway, he says 92% of Republicans believe in God. Only 60% of Democrats do. First of all, what's the source of that? I don't know where the source is. He doesn't cite anything. Is it in this video? Because I'm not watching the video. Maybe it's in the video. Assuming even that that's an accurate statistic, which I doubt in both directions, because I don't think 92% of Republicans believe in God. And I think it's probably higher than 60% of Democrats that believe in God, but maybe I'm wrong. Nonetheless, you're aware, Benny, that 60% is still a fucking majority, right? Like, that's still most of them. 6 out of 10, right? So, I don't know. He says that's the real divide in America. Well, no, it's not, because most Democrats still believe in God, according to this poll. So how could that be the real divide? And in fact, I know from experience, being an atheist for a long, long time, that I'll pull a statistic. This statistic literally is out my ass, so don't take it seriously. But like 80 to 90% of atheists do not give a fuck what religious people do. They just personally don't believe in God. Like, most atheists are not anti-theists. Most atheists are just like, yeah, not for me. None for me, thanks. Believe what you want, but none for me. So most atheists are not even like gung-ho, we gotta stop religion type people. They're mostly just like, yeah, I don't really believe in that, but hey, if it gives you comfort, do you. Now, that was never my attitude, but that is the attitude of most atheists from what I can glean and gather, and so on and so forth. So how the fuck is that the real divide? That don't make no sense. This is another one. This is from Kev Probiscus. Says Turning Point has the best graphic design team, and it's not even close. And then just, hey, some straight up fucking propaganda. Right out of fucking Weimar era Germany. They recruit because they can't reproduce. And then you see this scary looking demon hand with like feminine features. I don't know if that's supposed to be a drag queen or a trans person or what, but they're reaching down with their demon-like claws and apparently like seducing this young boy into the dark lifestyle of being trans or being gay or whatever the fuck. Who knows what's actually being implied here. But yeah, I mean, this seems kind of fucking messed up to me, personally. But hey, not quite as messed up as this. Let's take a look at this here.
Are red flags that you need to know. 1.
If they watch pornography of literally any kind. There is one thing that every single child predator has in common. They watch pornography. Now, before you say anything in the comments, I'm not saying that everyone who watches pornography is a child predator. What I am saying is that every single child predator watches pornography. So, if you want to make sure that you don't date someone who's a child predator, make sure that they don't watch pornography.
Or 3 predators.
Okay. So let's talk about that. First of all, citation fucking needed, bro. How the fuck do you know that you literally said every single child predator watches pornography? How the fuck do you know that? Where did you read that? What is the source of that information? Second of all, and I'm going to use an anti-pornography website for this information, so you can't possibly be down on my source. This is from addicthelp.com. On their article about pornography addiction, approximately 67% of American men and 41% of American women view online porn each year. Pornhub alone reported more than 2 billion visits in a single month in 2023. So, yeah, everybody watches porn. 67% of men watch porn. It's probably higher than that. Because you know there's some motherfuckers in denial out there lying about it. So, this is just nonsense. The idea that 67% of American men and 41% of American women, according to statistics from an anti-pornography website, are at risk of being child predators is absurd. And you should be fucking ashamed to put that kind of rhetoric out there into the world. I know you're not, because you're just an irresponsible dipshit, but you fucking should be, bro. And that's not even the worst Instagram reel that I saw. Because for some reason, my algorithm was like, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of anti-porn content. I'm like, okay, I guess that's fine. Gives me something to talk about, I suppose. But I saw one about masturbation. Masturbation. Okay? And the one about masturbation was a guy saying that he masturbated as a kid because he was sexually abused, and that is a sign of sexual abuse, which is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Like WebMD right here. Article about how, like, yeah, most kids do masturbate. They just do. Now, it doesn't become sexually motivated in the sense of trying to reach orgasm until they get a little older, but most kids do casually touch themselves. That is nature. That is not weird. That is not something that's strange or perverse or a sign of being molested or sexually abused. And the fucking crazy thing was, when I saw this Instagram reel, there was tons of these comments of people saying, oh, I touched myself when I was a kid, but I don't remember being molested. I must have repressed it. These people would rather believe that they have repressed an incident of themselves being abused. They would rather believe that they were molested as children, even if they weren't, than just accept the simple fact that this is part of human fucking nature. That's wild to me. That's insane. It's just beyond the pale fucking batshit nuts. And because of rhetoric like that, you have this kind of bullshit that I've seen occasionally on Twitter, where, you know, there's this, like, watch, there are no gay kids. Children shouldn't know what LGBTQ is. There are no gay kids, just bad parents. There are no gay kids, they're just kids. Stop pushing sex on kids. Dude. I'm bisexual. And I can tell you this. I knew that shit on some level. I didn't know the term bisexual, but I knew on some level, like first, second grade, that I was bisexual. And we all remember the little fucking fruity kids we went to school with. You know, like, I went to school in the deep Bible Belt South. I was around rednecks. I was around Republicans. That's who I was raised around. And there were still kids at my school like, hey guys, you know what I mean? That kid did not grow up to be fucking straight. This idea that you just have no idea about attraction. Like, I think the real problem here is we got to stop calling this shit sexuality. We got to stop calling it heterosexuality, homosexuality, and thinking of it as a sexuality, because it's really not. Because you can be gay and asexual. You just have romantic feelings towards the same sex, right? So it's not about sex. It's about who you're attracted to romantically, amorously, who you're going to fall in love with. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to consummate it with sex. So that's the problem here, I think. We just got to get rid of that language because it's causing problems. People just instantly think, oh, you're trying to sexualize kids if you admit that some kids are gay. It's fucking nuts, man. People are so fucking wound up tight on the issue of sex and sexuality and attraction that they can't handle the idea that it's innate. They can't handle the idea that it's just something you're born with. And they all think that you have to be, like, pressured into it or brainwashed into it. No, that's religion you're thinking about, folks. You're thinking about religion. Anyway, here, speaking of religion, this one's a doozy. Check this guy out. This is a Christian nationalist podcaster named Joshua Hames that says Christians must be willing to defend the institution of slavery.
The institution of slavery is not inherently evil. I know. Some of you guys are upset by that. Some of you guys are saying, I've been saying that for years. Okay, I'll take it a step further. It is not inherently evil to own another human being. I know. Just wait. Some of you guys are really upset, but let's talk through this because it is very important that every Christian affirm what I just said. And not only should they affirm it, every Christian in today's society should be able to defend what I just said. Okay? Every Christian should be able to defend it. Big evangelicalism has been getting this wrong for years, basically since the Genesis, since the advent of Big Eva. They haven't had a good answer for the slavery issue. All right, Christians in America have been led astray on this topic. They've been led to believe things that the Bible doesn't teach. And when we go beyond the Bible, there are dire consequences.
I mean, like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. The dude thinks it's not evil to just own another human being and force them to work for you. Why do I feel like he'd feel differently if I were to enslave his ass? You know, like, I hope someone enslaves him. I hope somebody out there enslaves this man because you know what? By his own logic, it's not evil to do so. So you know what? Go get him and put his ass to work. Put him out there in the cotton fields. Get him picking you some fucking cotton. Because you know what? It's not evil. It's not evil to just take away a person's freedom and autonomy and force them to work for your benefit with no compensation or remuneration of any kind. That's just fine. Now, I guess on some level I agree because I don't believe in the concept of like an objective evil. But I thought we as a society had pretty much come to the conclusion that we're not going to do that. That we value freedom, that we value autonomy. Now, in my opinion, we don't value it nearly enough. But to see mainstream or semi-mainstream figures taking it to this level of let's just roll back the clock to slavery. It's time to bring back slavery. Like, that's batshit, bro. Absolutely batshit, bonkers, fucking crazy. Here's another crazy religious story for you. this person right here, the person who retweeted doesn't really matter. But Pope Leo says, the poor are not there by chance or by blind and cruel fate, nor for most of them is poverty a choice. Yet there are those who still presume to make this claim, thus revealing their own blindness and cruelty. And this person responds to him and says, I was so hopeful I could be a Catholic again after the disaster that Francis was. Guess we just get Francis 2.0 now, and I am heartbroken. How do I stay Catholic now? I don't want to lose faith, but I am. You belong to someone else, not God. The fuck is wrong with you, you punk bitch? Like, the Bible is so fucking explicit on poverty. Jesus said more about poverty than any other subject. And guess what? He was not in favor. He said that rich people and that people of any means really should give all of their fucking possessions to the poor. What does that tell you? Jesus didn't want poverty. Jesus wanted people to share. Jesus wanted people to lift others out of poverty. And here's a pope saying nothing more than that, and you're like, oh no, another woke pope. It's not even woke. This is mainstream Christian fucking doctrine, you twat. You imbecile. What a horrible fucking person. Jesus Christ. Literally. God damn, these motherfuckers just got hideous demon souls, man. So this is a big incident that happened. Everyone's talking about it. There was a Twitch streamer called Imiru. I hope I'm saying it right. You know, I'm a boomer. I don't know about these Twitch streamers. I don't fucking watch that garbage. But Twitch has a little con they do, TwitchCon, where, there's been some criticism lately that there's not enough security there to protect female Twitch streamers of note. And it appears that criticism is well earned, because here you see this chick Imiru, hope I'm saying that right, getting assaulted, I guess, by a rogue fan. You know, people are saying the security was fucking lax here, and I guess it was to let the guy get through in the first place, but, like, they were on him pretty quick once he did. So, I don't know. I guess they could be better. Another thing that kind of sucks is I guess that I'll read her statement, because maybe she addresses it directly here. Hello, everyone. I am okay, and thank you for all the kind messages. Sorry, I cannot respond to them all. Yesterday, the man who assaulted me was allowed to cross multiple barriers at TwitchCon, and even in front of another creator's meet and greet to grab me and my face and try to kiss me. Fortunately, he wasn't able to, but a lot of people have pointed out that this could have been a lot worse. I'm obviously shaken up by what happened, and it's not the first time I've dealt with something like this, but to tell you honestly, I am a lot more hurt and upset by how Twitch handled it during and after the fact. Like I said, I don't understand how he was allowed to make it to me in the first place. The security in the clip who reacts is my own security. Oh, well, never mind. Even the small bit of fucking compliment I was able to give them is wrong, I guess. It's true my favorite and usual security guard was banned for holding a stalker's arm to bring him to police at a past TwitchCon. That's absurd. However, there were at least 3 or 4 other TwitchCon security staff in the area who did not react and let the guy walk away, as you can see in the clip, since they don't even appear in the frame, lol. The woman who is walking me away is my own personal manager, and behind the booth, the only 2 people who were checking on me and comforting me were her and my friend. None of the TwitchCon staff came to ask what happened or if I was okay. My friend who was present told me Twitch security were also behind the booth afterwards, joking about how they didn't even see what happened and immediately laughing and moving on to talking about something else. So if no one was checking if I was okay or if I needed anything, and they let the guy run away initially, I have no idea what anyone hired to keep the event safe was doing, lol. In Twitch's statement, they said the guy was immediately caught and detained. I'm sorry, but that's a blatant lie. He was allowed to walk away from my meet and greet, and I didn't hear he was caught until hours after he attacked me. And it felt like this only happened because my manager pressing for it, not because TwitchCon staff present thought it was a big deal. I have a lot more to say, but I will say it on stream later today instead of writing a book on here. Thanks, you guys, again. Sorry you all had to see that. This is definitely my last TwitchCon, and it saddens me to say, as a 10-year attendee, off and on attendee of TwitchCon, I think other creators should seriously consider not attending in the future. I did not feel cared for or protected, even bringing my own security and staff. I can't imagine how creators without those options would feel. Stay safe, y'all. Everything is going to be okay. Now, obviously, like I said, I don't have any skin in the Twitch game. I don't really give a shit about TwitchCon, but it does seem to me that they completely dropped the ball, were completely irresponsible, and, the concerns about this stuff were being brought up before this incident, and even with that being the case, it seems that TwitchCon security did not take this incident seriously at all until their arms were basically twisted into doing so. So that strikes me as absolutely outrageous and absurd. But like I said, I don't have much skin in the game, so I won't go off on any too long of a tangent on that one. But I will take a look at Matt Walsh's new video. This is from a few days ago, where he's talking about sex robots, because that's a favorite topic of mine. I am fascinated by sex robots. I have a novel I've been working on for quite a few years now called Sexbot Uprising, coming very slowly, but will be released one of these days, probably around the same time you see an actual Sexbot Uprising. But let's take a look at this.
And the same can be said of AI. Yes, it is better than what came before it, but better at what? It is better at doing what it is designed to do, which is replace human beings. Now, if you listen to this show, you know that
I'm surprised that he cares about that, because it seems to me that if anybody is completely and utterly sociopathic in regards to human wellness, it's Matt Walsh. But maybe he's going to surprise me.
I've been raising the alarm about AI for a while, and I'm certainly far from the only one who has been talking about it. AI is an incredibly impressive technology with a number of valid and useful applications, but it may also destroy civilization as we know it. And I don't mean that in a Terminator sense. I'm not saying that AI will become sentient and enslave us, although we can't rule that out. I mean, in the sense that AI will wipe out millions of jobs virtually overnight, destroy every creative field.
Yeah, this is really weird. This is a weird talking point for a conservative, because corporate America is very eager to do this. I mean, corporate America is fucking ecstatic to be able to replace jobs with machines that don't have anywhere near the material needs that their workers do, and don't demand fairness, don't demand anything really from their employers. They just serve their function. And thus, most right-wingers are pretty pro-AI, at least behind closed doors. It's kind of weird to see Matt Walsh raising any alarm bell on this subject. You'd think he would be firmly on the side of corporate America, but, maybe he realizes that it doesn't behoove him to be on that side. And so he's taking this different tact, while it doesn't really matter if he does so.
Make it impossible to discern reality from fiction, turn 10 people into trillionaires while sending millions into poverty, and create a society of people who are even more isolated, antisocial, and incapable of human interaction and creating and maintaining.
I mean, it's so weird to see Matt Walsh pretend to care about poverty. I wonder what is his game with this? Because he doesn't care about humanity. He doesn't care about poverty. He certainly is not offended by people becoming trillionaires. So what is the angle here? Is it just capitalize on some populist animosity towards robots?
Human relationships. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by destroying civilization. But not everybody shares these concerns. There are some who insist that, despite all the evidence to the contrary, this AI thing would really work out for the best. And they can't explain why or how it would work out for the best. They can't really dispute any of the contentions I just made, but they just believe fundamentally that somehow, some way, for some reason, AI will make our lives better, even as we can already see that AI is, as we speak, making it worse in some really significant ways.
Well, I mean, if the means of production were democratized and, all of humanity was allowed to benefit from AI technology, then it could. But yeah, you're right. Under a capitalist system where the means of production are privately held, yeah, it's obviously a disaster.
They have blind faith in technology. Like technological advancement.
I don't have blind faith in technology. I think technology is a tool, and the effect of the tool depends upon how it's used. So yeah, in this paradigm, with looking at the people who control the technology, yeah, it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a shit show. Now, if the technology was democratized, then I think it could be good.
It must be good ultimately, because it is a technological advancement. That's what they believe. And we'll get back to that point in a few moments. But today, representing that point of view, we have Elizabeth Nolan Brown of the libertarian outlet Reason. And she is here to defend not just AI in general, but specifically AI sex robots in an article titled, "Sex Robots Are Here and It's Okay." Now, she's apparently been on the sex robot beat for quite some time. Defending sex robots is an issue near and dear to her heart for reasons that we can only wonder about. And I'm going to read a somewhat sizable chunk of her article and maybe too much of it, but I have some thoughts I want to offer him, but we got to kind of I need to get it all. We need to get it all out. We need to see everything that she's saying so that we can respond to it. So, reading, quote, "One of the first feature articles I wrote for Reason was about sex robots. This was 2015, and both legacy and social media had cyclical freakouts about the havoc that sex robots would supposedly wreak. By sex robots, I and everyone else at the time meant anthropomorphic robots that were able to be physically intimate with humans and perhaps romantic too. The gist of my piece was basically calm down. Sex robots, as people are imagining them, don't actually exist. They won't for a while, and even if they eventually do, it's going to be okay. Now, sex robots are here. We're seeing the rise of artificially intelligent chatbot companions, and they're capable of both romance and naughty talk, from the G-rated to the pornographic. This week, OpenAI..."
So is this what this is about? Is it just the fact that all these right-wingers are big into breeding? And so the idea of a bunch of dudes pumping loads into a robot that can't produce offspring is disturbing to them because they think everyone should just be pumping out new units for the economy nonstop. Because that's the only thing I can figure out from his perspective. From a right-wing perspective, that's the only real argument I can think of. But let's find out.
Founder Sam Altman even announced that an upcoming version of ChatGPT would not only have more personality, but also engage in erotica with verified adults. There are already all sorts of dedicated platforms for AI girlfriends and sex fantasy chatbots. Meta has been under
hugely popular platforms, by the way,
fire for allowing its chatbots to engage in romantic play that can get graphic, even when those chatting say that they are teens. And Elon Musk's AI bot Grok can go into sexy mode. Okay, and she then goes into some of the legislation that's been introduced to get a handle on this problem. She writes, quote, "An Ohio lawmaker, State Representative Thad Claggett of Licking County." I don't know. It's just a great name, and somehow, I don't know what to say about that.
I think you do know what to say about it. I do.
Licking County, Thad Claggett. That's a great name.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got the last name Claggett, then you might as well name your kid Thad. It's you can't have a normal name with a last name Claggett. Anyway, this is me talking, not her. Let's go back to her. Has introduced legislation to ban.
No, I thought that was still part of the article.
And marriages between humans and AI chatbots. No AI system shall be recognized as a spouse, domestic partner, or hold any personal legal status analogous to marriage or a union with a human or another AI system, states House Bill 469. This seems to be that nobody, absolutely no one meme come to life. I mean, sure, people can say they're married to a chatbot, but no government authority is out there recognizing these partnerships as legal unions, nor...
Not yet, anyway. I love how these lawmakers feel the need to jump out ahead and say no one can marry a chatbot. Like, isn't that covered by the fact that we don't recognize the personhood of chatbots? Like, if we ever do, then people should be able to get married to them. But the fact is we don't recognize the personhood of chatbots and robots and stuff. So why is this law necessary again? It seems like a pretty ridiculous waste of lawmaker time and resources. But then again, these people.
Are they about to? This preemptive ban on human chatbot marriages smacks of attention-seeking, if we're being charitable, or brainworms brought on by indulging in a little bit too much tech doomerism. Meanwhile, Senator Josh Hawley, who never met a new tech panic he couldn't embrace, is reportedly drafting a bill that would ban AI companions for minors, or Axios. Okay, so that's the setup. Now, finally, we get to her rebuttal to all these laws and the concerns that people are raising. Quote, Look, I don't think that AI chatbots should be designed to get explicit with people.
He really is reading too much of this. And as a result, I'm watching too much of this. I'm sorry to go so long without injecting any commentary, but we really do have to get through the bulk of this so that we can understand what's going on, and thus I can lay out any sort of comments whatsoever. I hope you guys are not tuning out as Matt Walsh bores the shit out of you, because I'm almost wanting to tune out. So please stick with it so that we can get to my commentary.
People under the age of 18, but I also came of age in the AOL chat room era. I don't think teenagers engaging in a little sexually explicit chatting is anything new or anything to panic about. And honestly, testing boundaries and exploring sexual themes with an AI chatbot is probably less problematic or dangerous for teenagers than sexting with school peers who may not keep the conversations private, or internet strangers who could turn out to be sexual predators or extortionists. In any event, making it a federal crime for AI chatbots to do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that actually is kind of a good point, because it's easier to implement guardrails with a computer, because the computer is not like looking to actually meet up with them or anything.
Any sexual content while chatting with minors risks doing more harm than good. It could bar chatbots from providing any sort of sexual health information to minors or offering any sort of education or advice related to sexuality. And it would, of course, require...
I don't really buy that argument, because that information is available in plenty of other places.
Anyone accessing any sort of AI chatbot that's allowed to talk about sex at all to prove their identity. She says that even AI sex robots will, probably only really become the predominant form of sexual relationships for certain subsets of the population, and that's her main contention. That it's not going to be widespread. It'll only be certain people that really even use this.
Yeah, like loser ass incel motherfuckers. Yeah, I mean that seems. Look, better that they fucking waste all their time being in love with fucking Katsu, the anime bitch on fucking Replica or something, than out there shooting up a yoga studio because they hate women. You know, I'd rather them fall in love with the fucking robot.
Stuff. Quoting, last quote from the article says, I'm not worried that chatbot relationships will, on a wide scale, overtake human romances, or even that sexy chatbots will put human sex workers out of work. Of course, everyone's different. Not everyone places the same value on emotional connection. And among those that do, the level of illusion of humanness provided by AI chatbots may be perfectly sufficient for some. This minority of users may decide that sexy chatbots aren't just a sometimes fun distraction, but as good as or better than a human companion. But it'll be a small minority, and regardless, heavy on people incapable.
I don't know how you possibly predict that. You know, especially as the technology advances, like, there could come a point where most people are like, you know, I get the fulfillment I need from the AI robot thing. I don't really need a real person. Like, it could get to that point. I mean, especially if you factor in all the complexity of ordinary relationships, and like their needs are different than your needs. I mean, like, think about how ChatGPT kisses its users' asses. Like, a lot of people might be like, hey, you know, I'm a busy person. I got a lot of stuff to do. You know, the AI girlfriend is not like, do the fucking dishes, take out the trash. Why don't you spend more time with me? All this stuff. The AI thing is just like, hey, need your dick sucked? I do. And, you know, a lot of people might fucking opt for that, especially as the technology gets better and better and better. There's no really way to predict. There's nothing to base the prediction on. Really, because, I mean, this is a new thing for us human beings. We've never been able to create artificial beings that meet our every need before. We don't know how many people are going to get roped into that. There is no fucking way to tell.
Or undesiring of sustaining a real relationship. Okay, I just read way more of that article than I preferred to or maybe needed to, but I wanted you to hear the whole argument, such as it is. She is following the same formula as everyone else who dismisses the concerns of those of us who don't want AI to take over our lives. That's why I think it's worth considering her points in detail and considering how weak and self-contradictory they are. So let's go back and review a few things. First of all, she assures us that nobody is marrying AI, that no government is or will validate those marriages.
I mean, some government probably will at some point.
And on a broader level, she says with confidence that AI relationships...
I mean, like, if there is enough demand for people, I want to marry my AI, some government somewhere is going to be like, hey, you can do it here. Come on down. Someone's going to let them do it.
Not become a thing at scale. And if they really take hold, it will only be among certain small portions of the population, the misfits and the outcasts. And to that, I would say, even if it's true, your plan then is to, what, just abandon the outcasts and relegate them entirely?
Oh, please, don't make some humanitarian argument to me. You don't give a shit about no misfits and no outcasts, bitch. And by the way, our society has already done that to them. This society now has already relegated them to be outcasts and misfits. That's already where they are. So they might as well have a fucking AI girlfriend. If I could choose between being a total misfit and outcast that everybody hated, or a total misfit and outcast that everybody hated, except for my AI chatbot, I'm choosing the second thing.
To, a life devoid of human love and connection? You say only portions of the population, only the people who are already lonely and miserable will be doomed to this fate, and we're supposed to, what, just be okay with that?
I mean, yeah, why not? In that instance, why not? The better argument is the one I made earlier, that there's no way we can know that that's the only people this is going to appeal to.
What happens next? When we have an entire subset of the population, which you've already admitted may and maybe perhaps likely will happen, entire subset who are isolated from human contact at a level and in a way previously unknown to mankind, what then? What happens to those people? What kind of people do they become? What effect does that...
Why are you acting like these people don't already exist? Why are you acting like we're talking about misfits and outcasts? That's literally always been a thing. Why are you acting like all of a sudden it's a concern? Like, you don't care that there's misfits and outcasts. You only care if the misfits and outcasts are having sex with a robot? That seems silly.
Have on society at large. And what happens when those people start clamoring for social acceptance? What happens when they start...
Wait. When they start clamoring for social acceptance, then accept them. You're the one making an argument that you don't want them to be misfits and outcasts. The easiest way to make them no longer misfits and outcasts is to accept them, right? Right? So accept them.
Claiming that they have a human right to have their AI relationships recognized and validated by the state.
So?
It won't be the first time that a small minority of social outcasts have launched a campaign for public and legal validation and approval. And how did it work out the other times?
I mean, in many instances, pretty well for them.
Who ultimately won that argument? I mean, I remember a time when I was told that transgenders are a tiny minority with no relevance to the greater public. And then I remember how a few years later, acceptance and affirmation of transgenderism was mandated by every powerful institution in the country.
When was that? Man, sometimes you just gotta fucking wonder about the right-wing mentality and what reality they live in. Where is this alternate plane of existence that these people occupy where this shit has happened? It's always the biggest stumbling block to trying to understand their points is because at some point they'll throw out something that's just batshit crazy, insane false. And then they just accept it to be they just expect it to be accepted as the unvarnished truth that everyone knows.
But Elizabeth Nolan Brown of Reason says that's not going to happen here. Not going to happen.
You read so much of her article, and I don't remember her ever saying that's not going to happen. Like, I don't know. Maybe I missed that part because it was so fucking boring, but I don't remember her saying it's never going to happen.
Why won't it happen? How does she know that? This is what you get from the AI defenders. It's just this. It's like, it's not going to happen. Come on.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll give you a different tact. I don't care if it does. I don't care if it does happen. Who gives a shit? Some nerd wants to marry a fucking computer? Okay. And? So?
That's their whole argument. It's really just that. You talk about, this is where this is heading. These are all the terrible things that are going to happen as a result. That's not going to happen.
You haven't outlined any terrible things. Outline the terrible things you think are going to happen as a result. All you did was ask a few pointed questions and then expect us to infer disaster.
That is the whole argument. Come on. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
She feels it. She feels it in her bones that it's not going to happen. Well, the problem is that she admitted in the very first paragraph of this same article that she's already been wrong about.
All right. I think that's enough of that. I think I made my points clear, and if I didn't, then let me know. If you have any questions or comments or anything like that, feel free to share them. And, by the way, I guess if you're still watching at this point, you're probably a pretty big fan of these. So if you have something that you would like to see me cover, you can always go to my Discord server, which is linked down below. And there is a section on that Discord server called Content Suggestions, and you can always drop stuff there that you would like to see me cover on this show. Until next time, peace. Oh, yeah.